One of the most well-acclaimed games created by Capcom for PlayStation is the Resident Evil series. In particular, Resident Evil 2 stands out for being among the best video games ever made. Produced by Shinji Mikami and directed by Hideki Kamiya, the game received a lot of recognition for its gameplay, graphics, atmosphere, and settings. The game revolves around a private pharmaceutical company named Umbrella and its creation of a bioweapon known as the T-Virus, which turned people into zombies. In Resident Evil 2, we learn about the new G-Virus, which can mutate human beings into the ultimate bioweapon. The protagonists of the game run into Tyrants, which are bioweapons created by Umbrella intended to be used as super soldiers. They serve as some of the most memorable antagonists of the series. In today's video, let's look at T-00, also known as Trenchy or Mr. X, and understand its creation, as well as the course it takes throughout the game. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. When was T-00 created, and what was its mission? Umbrella owned the Sheena Island and mass-produced T-103 Tyrants, and equipped them with adrenal neurotransmitters taken from the Locus Ceruleus. The production continued until the island was completely destroyed. Colonel Sergei Vladimir was given command of all materials and personnel still within the city after the demise of UBCS. He deployed an SH-60B Seahawk in Raccoon City. T-00 was dropped near the Raccoon police station and given a particular mission, while the other T-103 models were just deployed to see how well they would do in battle. The T-00 had two particular orders: identify and eliminate any survivors in the Raccoon City police station, and locate the G-Virus from the pendant that Sherry Birkin wore. During its time exploring the station, the Tyrant ran into survivors Claire Redfield and Leon S. Kennedy, and stalked them in the surface levels, as well as the underground parking garage. It also killed reporter Ben Bertolucci right in front of Leon. However, he escaped from the prison cells into the parking garage and was promptly captured by T-00, which started choking him. Just then, a SWAT van hit it, being driven by another survivor named Ada Wong. Despite this, the T-00 survived and pushed back the van. Ada had to detonate the explosives inside the van, which incapacitated the Tyrant for a short time. What happened during T-00's encounter with G in Claire's scenario? The T-00 and Claire tracked down Sherry almost together at the orphanage. However, Claire managed to get to her first in the basement. While the two of them tried to escape, the Tyrant slammed the door open and followed them to an elevator. Just as it was about to take off, the T-00 managed to stop it and pry the doors open. Chances were slim for both Claire and Sherry, but just before it could strike, the Tyrant was slashed through its midsection by G, who needed Sherry to be alive because she could carry his parasitic larvae. G tried to move the T-00 out of the way to approach Sherry, but since it was blocking the elevator, G slashed through it, causing it to fall on its knees and die. How does T-00 mutate and meet its end in Leon's scenario? In Leon's scenario, T-00 followed him and Ada into the nest. Ada first encountered it when she was in pursuit of Annette Birkin for the G-Virus, and she remarked how the Tyrant was a persistent bastard. She realized quickly that fighting it would be suicide, so instead opted to run away from it in such a way that it would not be able to follow. She shut down the power to a fan in a room and slid through the opening, knowing that the Tyrant would not be able to follow. The T-00 also realized this and gave up on pursuing her. Instead, it went after Leon and Sherry. It managed to corner and almost kill Leon a second time, but became distracted by the exploding pipes, which helped Leon fall off the platform and promptly escape. The room the T-00 was in exploded soon enough, causing it to suffer very heavy injuries. Its jaw was torn off, half its body was burned, and its power limiter was also destroyed. As a result of this, it underwent a dangerous mutation and basically evolved into a super Tyrant. This increased its power, but also made it a mindless beast. Much like the T-002, Leon was taking the elevator to escape, but the Tyrant appeared on the platform above, intending to resume its battle with Leon. However, Ada dropped an anti-tank rocket into the lift, which completely destroyed the upper body of the T-00, finally killing it. What defines T-00's personality? During most of the sequence, the T-00 is depicted as a ruthless killing machine, without a soul or emotions, that only carries out the orders given to it. However, there have been some instances where it is shown to have a mind of its own. It does not speak when it is challenged or cornered into a battle, but exhibits nonverbal cues such as cracking its jaw and knuckles, seemingly showing a sense of irritation. In the remake, it's shown to almost smile after having cornered Claire and Sherry in the elevator. Interestingly, it shows a degree of possessiveness towards its fedora, and if it's blown off or damaged in a fight, the T-00 becomes angry. If it grabs a player and they have a knife in possession, they can stab the Tyrant in the wrist to escape. Doing so makes it stare blankly at the weapon in apparent confusion. Moreover, it is shown to also taunt its opponent with numerous cues, and it waits for the player to stand up before attacking again. The primary mission of the T-00 was to recover the G-Virus and eliminate survivors in the police station. However, it later seems to disregard these directives as it makes a choice to pursue Leon to death, since he was continually able to evade the tyrant. This shows some level of determination, and a probable issue in its creation since it chose not to follow the main orders. In the final battle, T-00 suffered a lot of damage and underwent mutation as well, so it tried to intimidate Leon by bellowing in rage and flashing its huge claw. It waited for Leon to stand back before attacking him again, and also seemed to shout in a way that was meant to urge his enemy to keep fighting. All in all, it hinted at the T-00 being annoyed that a mere human was able to evade him, and wanted to assert itself over Leon. How is T-00's appearance characterized? Like most tyrants, the T-00 is a large, muscular man with very pale skin. The actual height has never been revealed, but it had to bend down to fit through doorways, so it can be assumed that the tyrant stood at almost 7 feet and weighed roughly 300 pounds, if not more. It had skin as white as snow and no irises in its eyes, wearing a dark leather trench coat with matching boots and gloves. The coat was fastened with a silver buckle and a brown satchel attached to the right side of the hip. While it has never been expressly mentioned, the purpose of the satchel was probably to hold the G-Virus sample once it was extracted. In the Darkside Chronicles, the T-00 looks quite similar to how it appeared in Resident Evil 2, except that it had a leaner physique. The coat it wore also had a bluish tint to it. While the updating graphics allowed it to have a wider range of emotions, its face was permanently plastered with an angry scowl. In Resident Evil 2 Remake, it's somewhat shorter with its coat down to his shins instead of down to his ankles. The brown satchel was also removed. Its face also looks less human and more like a rock due to the number of wrinkles. It had thin white lips and blue eyes, and a small device with the Umbrella logo on its right temple. It also wears a black fedora that can be shot off by the player. This act earns points, but also angers the T-00. In its second form, the Tyrant appears without its signature trench coat, and reveals a very muscular body with broad shoulders. There is mutated flesh on its upper torso that looks reddish-brown in color, and its hands transform into massive claws to stab and slash the enemies. It suffers an injury from an explosion in the remake, so its right side is a fleshy red color with a blown-off jaw and ribs jutting out. Its right arm turns into a claw but still wears the glove and pants, and the remnants of its trench coat dangle from its body. The heart on its chest is left exposed, which is a serious weak point. How does T-00's physical strength dominate battles? The T-00 has superhuman strength and can easily ram through concrete with very little effort. It can easily drive a fist through the wall and lift the wreckage of a helicopter with a single hand. It opens a closed elevator with just one hand as well, and can destroy rubble with a mutated talon. A single punch from the T-00 can definitely break bones. With its superhuman strength comes a lot of durability, which makes it not react to small weapons in the slightest. Even with larger weaponry, it seems to be jaded at the beginning, but this effect is only temporary. Whenever it's stabbed by Leon or Claire, it registers no pain as such, and just blankly stares at the weapon before pulling it off and continuing its job. As we've seen, even speeding armored trucks do not cause a lot of damage to it, although a lot of damage to the head might stun it for a while. In addition to this, the T-00 also has regenerative healing and mutation powers as discussed. While in its mutated state, it becomes stronger. This also causes it to become more susceptible to attacks. Does T-00 use strategy or pure brutality to hunt its targets? Most beasts that were infected and enhanced by the T-Virus don't usually show a lot of intelligence beyond what is programmed into them for the sake of their missions. However, the T-00 has a significant amount of self-awareness and intelligence that can be human-like at times. It can follow orders while understanding its own surroundings. It does not move around aimlessly like the zombies. When faced with a closed door, many creatures simply give up pursuit because they do not know how to open it, and many zombies would attempt to throw their weight against the door to open it. However, the T-00 can open doors just like normal people, and it can certainly tell the difference between zombies and humans. It mostly ignores the zombies in its path, and maybe shoves them aside if they obstruct him. Interestingly, if a zombie attacks the player, the T-00 does not intervene, and allows the zombie to do its thing. Ultimately, if the player dies at the hand of the zombies, that's good for the T-00. This shows a degree of resourcefulness as well. Where does T-00 fall short? Despite the mighty nature of its being, the T-00 is not without weaknesses. Stronger bioweapons such as G can defeat it by inflicting injuries that do not allow any mutation. While normal weapons cannot do a lot of damage to it, explosive weaponry can obliterate it if it's weakened enough. Even in its mutated form, it is very strong and resilient to normal attacks. However, it was defeated by using an anti-tank rocket launcher, which killed it in an instant. Who would win in a fight between Mr. X and Nemesis? A very interesting question that a lot of Resident Evil fans have is whether Nemesis would trump Mr. X in a one-on-one battle, or if it would be the other way around. It seems like the overwhelming consensus believes that Nemesis would win, and by a great margin. That's because while a Tyrant is the biggest bioweapon Umbrella created, there's one thing that makes Nemesis stronger than T-00, and that's the Ini Alpha Parasite. Without the addition of the Parasite, Nemesis is no different than the T-00. Many fans also say that since Nemesis can handle weapons with ease, this makes it stronger than T-00. However, it's important to point out that Nemesis was equipped with weapons, and Mr. X was not. This does not automatically indicate that the latter didn't know how to use weapons at all. Umbrella simply didn't give it any weapons. Any interesting trivia or behind-the-scenes facts? Due to the iconic trench coat that the T-00 always sports, Leon's nickname of Trenchy became quite popular, and a lot of people think it's just another name for the Tyrant. In reality, however, the name is just a localization, as the Japanese script mentions Leon calling him Coated Bastard. As many fans have agreed, the character of Mr. X is largely inspired by Terminator. Marvelous verdict. While certainly being a dangerous and hulking entity, the T-00 Tyrant can ultimately be taken down. It remains one of the most legendary antagonists in video games due to how popular Resident Evil 2 became. We hope you enjoyed this video, and for fans of the game, we hope this was a memorable trip. Let us know in the comments what more you'd like to see from us. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.